Inspiration, the Power is Within podcast. Tonight, we're going to talk about the youth then, like in my time, and the youth now, like in your time. And we have our guest tonight.
Claude, I'm 20. It's been a
Right
while
up.
since I've been here.
Right on, I'm 16.
I forgot how old you were. I was telling somebody, let me see, how old are my kids? I was thinking, are you going to be 21 or 22?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've been on.
Yeah. So you got the chat on there?
Yeah.
All right, great. The youth then and the youth now, quite a difference from what it used to be. I know you guys tell me sometimes that you'd like to have grown up in the time that I grew up in.
Yeah.
Quite different from what it is now. And something else that I've noticed about, before we begin, like and subscribe. Hit that like button and subscribe. Check me out on, what's it called? Instagram and Mark's Inspiration. Got a couple books on Amazon, Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, and The Power is Within. Check those out. Be good reading for you. Lots of life lessons in there. So we're talking about the youth of yesterday and the youth of today. One of the things I hear a lot about in the YouTube channels about men and dating and different things is the low T. Seems to be a big deal in men now, all men of all ages. You'd never heard anything about that before, except maybe in older men. But even then, it wasn't a big issue. But that seems to be a problem now. Here, I Googled it up, and it says there has been a decline in mean TT levels over the past 2 decades, and TT is lower with progressively higher body mass index. We conclude that TT levels have been declining in young adult men in recent decades. Well, I think that could have something to do with the obesity and overweight being about rate being about 75%. So if that is congruent with low T, that is obvious why we have a low T level. What do you guys think about that?
I would definitely say it's definitely lower because the obesity rate. Because no one nowadays does anything. Like back then, you would have to forcefully go outside, do something, get active. And nowadays, you have so much technology, like the phones and media for like Netflix, YouTube, stuff like that. Now everybody can just stay inside and order their food,
DoorDash.
DoorDash, or just stay inside and watch a movie.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's like lack of exercise and lack of proper nutrition because there are foods that lower your testosterone levels. But a good example is you because you eat so healthy and you have a higher testosterone level, which is why you have a lot more definition than most people your age because you eat healthy and your testosterone levels are high. A lot of people who are bigger and less muscular than you are, it's because they have low testosterone levels because they eat unhealthy all the time.
Well, there's also so much salt and sugar in every food.
True.
Like it's what's the word for it? It's a processed food.
Processed. Yeah, almost everything is processed, and it's not processed for your health.
Right.
Mhm.
It's processed for their sales and their profit margins. Yeah, it talks about exercise here also. How many men in U.S. have low? How many men in U.S. have low testosterone? Testosterone deficiency has a prevalence of 10 to 40% among adult males and 20% among men aged 15 to 39. But as you guys said, nobody's exercising. Yeah, back when I was a kid, if I wanted to go see my buddy, I had to walk a mile to get to see him. And then we played flashlight tag and what else we play? We played Army. We also played Army with real BB guns. So we were always running around the neighborhood, riding our bicycles, taking ventures on the bicycles, climbing trees. Just we were always doing. There was always exercise. And like you said, nowadays people don't. They can just sit on their phone and play games. We didn't have anything like that when we was growing up. The biggest deal we had was to go and play a pinball machine, and you had to stand up and shake that to play that. So you couldn't just sit there all day and be entertained like you guys can now. And thus, we have no exercise, and exercise is very important to testosterone levels.
Yeah, I think another thing that has to do with it is not a big portion of it, but like a pretty good amount is like how the way you think of yourself. I think that has something to do with how how your testosterone levels work because you got to think about it. You're watching TV or you're watching stuff that you wish you could do, and you see people like that are super popular and all that sort of stuff, and then you don't have that, and obviously you start to cut yourself down. I mean, testosterone doesn't have a lot to do with it in that part, but anything that's like small, minor, or major has something to do with your testosterone physically, mentally, emotionally. You know.
Yeah, your mental attitude can determine what chemicals are released in your brain to cause it to either come higher or lower. I think more than that, though, it would have to do with your motivation to do something,
Yeah.
your motivation to get up and make something of yourself. Several studies from the U.S. and Nordic countries have shown a significant decline in serum testosterone on men from 1970s to 2000s. Okay, it talks about exercise. How can a man naturally, how does a man feel? How does a man feel? I read this earlier. How does a man feel with low testosterone? In addition to causing physical changes, having low levels of testosterone can affect you on an emotional level. The condition can lead to feelings of sadness or depression. And we have like an epidemic of depression among people nowadays. But they got a pill for that. So
Yeah.
just don't worry. Just take that pill.
You see
and
that
it'll be
kind of
okay.
more in my age because every kid's like on social media is like, "Don't hit me up." Only the real ones know
Oh,
on some
man.
on some stuff like that. But it's like they don't go out and they eat crappy food. So it's like, what do you kind of expect besides lower testosterone levels to make you feel like that?
Yeah.
Testosterone is kind of a chemical in your body that makes you feel motivated and assertive to do things.
Mhm.
And if you don't have that, if you don't do things, as you guys know, you sit around all day, you get depressed.
Right.
Yeah. Not only that, but one thing that keeps your testosterone levels low is one thing that boosts it is retention. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what retention we're talking about, but um when you don't do that, like it, and you know, when you're not doing that at all, it lowers your testosterone levels, which is why I always feel depressed. I mean,
Yeah, that's debatable. They say it raises your testosterone levels up to 14 days. After that, they say it doesn't make any difference. But yeah, if you're sitting around, masturbating 3 times a day, watching pornography, which unfortunately a lot of young and men are doing that too, then it depletes their energy to do anything, and thus they're not exercising, they're not pushing for things. But they say even watching like fights and different contact sporting events raises your testosterone level also.
yeah,
And so how much more does doing those? But if you're sitting around watching porn all day and doing that, you don't feel like doing anything. You're exhausting all your energy on that.
yeah,
Nothing, just wasting your vital substance there, basically.
Yeah, I remember whenever I was little, I got my first phone probably around I don't remember exactly what age, but I was obsessed with football and I couldn't play it at the time. But I would always be watching football like highlights or whatever, and it would make me feel more motivated just to
Yeah.
kind of speed up life just so I could play it, just so I can finally get to see what it's like to play football, contact sport. And I can definitely tell it boosted a lot of motivation to play and work out from what I am now.
Yeah, just watching it does that. I mean, I think we all have a warrior within us, and we have to express it somehow in some type of contact sport. And when we do, we feel good. It's like last night when we went out and ran.
hmm
I had to kick myself in the butt to get going, but I went on out, and you guys just got back, and then you decided to run with me. And hell, the last mile we ran, we were smoking. I felt great,
yeah,
and I've actually felt better ever since. Now, in contrast to that, let's say yesterday morning I got up, I felt like crap. My neck was so stiff I could hardly move it because I had a neck injury and I was doing new exercises, and it's like, I didn't want to go to work. Let's say I would decide to call in and say, hey, I tell my client I can't make it today, and then just sit around the house all day, and then I wouldn't have went out and ran. I would have missed out on that. There's something about physical exercise that, as it says, increases your testosterone and thus makes you feel better and gets you out of depression. But a lot of times, the hardest thing for a person to do is to get up and do something when they feel depressed. They don't feel like doing anything. But just like Tate says, it doesn't really matter how you feel. As a man, you got to get up and do what you got to do as a man.
If you take it into perspective, look how many 6-year-olds are running, getting up out of bed. I mean, I know from my personal experience, my grandpa, I mean, he works, but he's like, I would say he's obese, but I don't see him running, doing things that you do. That's why I take into perspective of how masculine and strong you are. That's why I count you as like my second father. But I don't see any 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. I mean, you see the rare occasion of like, let's say for instance, there was a story that came around. There was this 100-year-old. He was like running a mile, but I mean, you don't see really many in those races. There was a few there, but he got first place, and it was like a big accomplishment for him.
Yeah,
And
I think
I
read
I
that.
really took into perspective what that was.
And he made a joke. He said, "Well, there's not much competition in mine."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah, and I admire those people like that. And you talk about the kids. See, the kids are naturally out doing running and gunning. But what happens is mom or dad or somebody gives them a little iPad or a phone, and they're done. They quit moving,
Uh-huh.
Right.
and it's great for the parents because they don't have to watch them. So these electronic devices like phones, iPads, and whatever they have become the babysitters.
Yeah, you
Because-
see in these new parents that it's like they don't know how to deal with kids, so they kind of just shove an iPad or something in his
Yeah,
face.
it works real good, and then the kid becomes mesmerized, and there starts the lack of energy, the lack of
Yeah.
motivation, the depression, and they make those things, these games, and all the things on social media, the messages, all that gives the brain what they call a dopamine hit, and you get to where it's like you feel like you're just like when we went out and run last night. I got dopamine from that, and it's
Mhm.
lasted all day today. Well, when you get a message from somebody or somebody likes your post, that gives you a small dopamine hit.
Yeah.
But you're really not accomplishing anything.
Hmm.
So you have to keep going back for more and more. That's why people get. And I've noticed the phone too. You got to be careful. It becomes addicting. You start scrolling, or let's see if I got a message or a like. Or it's like how many views did I get on my video. All that stuff is, but it's not really accomplishing. Even though mine is for the YouTube channel and different things, but still, you have to be careful with that because it starts making you feel like you're accomplishing something, but you're really not because you get that little dopamine hit, releases
Yeah.
a chemical in your brain, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's also like when you get like followers on Instagram or you get a lot of likes, that boosts your dopamine. But the thing is that like that's why I don't post on Instagram. It's like, all right, I already have enough likes. You're just gonna get the same likes on any other post that you make. But the thing is that the difference is nowadays you go looking for that dopamine
What's
over
up,
social.
Wade? Thanks for joining us. Go ahead,
You
Clark.
look for that through social media and all that sort of stuff, and it doesn't really help. But back in your day, you guys didn't have stuff like that. You guys didn't have what's it called, like phones or people trying to like you and all that, or people trying to like you.
Yeah, you had to
getting
go out
likes.
and be around people to
Yeah.
get somebody to like you.
Uh-huh.
Our like was when a girl looked at us and you could tell she wanted to be with. That was a like.
Yeah,
I got a like last night.
and not only that,
She
but
was flirting with me.
But the thing is that a lot more people like before, like back then, for you to talk to someone, you literally had to socialize with
Yeah.
them. Nowadays, you could talk to somebody over the phone,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, you want to go hang out with them, and then you don't know what the hell to say because you've never talked to them in person. Sometimes it's a
yeah.
little easy, but it gets a lot harder if you don't know the person at all. If you've never
Well,
met
that's
them.
something these people talk about on this semen retention. And I've done that when I used to box. 30 days, I wouldn't have any sex or anything before the fight. And what it does make you more assertive and aggressive. So it's obvious if these guys that are watching porn and getting off all day, it's obvious they would stop that. They would be more, how would I say, motivated to go out and actually get a girl. But if they're
Mhm.
sitting there doing that at home all day, then it's like they have no motivation to go out, and then they don't know what it's like to be with a girl. So if that's the best they've known, they have no motivation because they don't realize how much better it is to actually be with someone physically
Yeah.
than it is to have the artificial deal there. And I know now I've heard they're even making artificial robot dolls or something.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking about that made me think about like retention and all that sort of stuff was one thing that I noticed about it is that gets you really focused. It almost feels like you have tunnel vision. Like it's crazy because I remember whenever Frank and I were going in whenever Frank and I got in the ring, I was completely focused. I wasn't thinking about anything outside of like what was outside of the ring. The only thing I thought about was what was going inside of the ring. I was like super focused. You know what tunnel vision is, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it almost felt like I had like a feeling of what tunnel vision actually
Some
is.
people call that being in the zone. too.
Yeah,
Being
yeah, in the zone.
I would say more for me for media and like likes. It's like I don't really go for dopamine, but I kind of like. For me, it would be everybody else goes for it just for the likes and everything. They get their dopamine from that. For me, I actually go out, work out, and then I post every once in a while
Yeah,
to show like my results. I don't show like my process of everything. And I follow some people that like do those TikToks on like the gym stuff, and I admire that because they actually go out and do stuff.
yeah.
But it's like they kind of just really do it just for the likes.
Mhm.
They do it just for the likes. I do it for my self-improvement and everything like that because I grew up as a pretty skinny kid. And I mean, I'm a little skinny now and everything, but I've gained so much more confidence and so much more structure from my body from that. And so I like to express my feelings with that. But like I was saying, everybody else, they kind of just go out and they do it just for the likes. They don't have no end goal for it.
Well, that's something else too. When we didn't, my mic. You guys hear me okay? The voice good? I had my mic a ways away from me here. I've been talking. I'm pretty loud. It probably was all right. But as I said before, you have to, back when my day, you had to go out to get attention.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to go out. Now these girls can get validation and that same feeling that they used to could get if they went out. Now they get that same feeling by just looking at their phone.
Yeah.
They post some picture. And a lot of people talk about the epidemic of simps we have nowadays, and that's true. I don't think there's any more simps. It's just that now the simps have a platform where they can actually talk to girls, and there's a buffer to keep them from feeling hurt, because back in my day, they actually had to go out and approach a girl, and they didn't have the guts to do that. But now it's easy for anybody to sit behind a computer or a phone and say something to some girl on social media. And if she rejects him or doesn't answer, it's not too bad. But in the old days, you had to actually face them face to face. And if they rejected, it hurt. So the simps weren't out doing anything. Well, they're still not out doing anything actually, but on social media, that gives them the illusion that they're actually taking action.
Yeah. One thing now on Snapchat that I noticed a lot is now if you want to add somebody on Snapchat, it doesn't say that you have them added as a friend. It'll say subscribe. Because now what people do is that it's called this thing called Snap for Snap. They'll send somebody their Snapchat, and then they'll have them give them a shout out on their Snapchat. And then you got all these guys adding this girl, and she's getting all these people adding her, that it gives her the approval or not the approval. It gives her the attention she wants.
Yeah.
Once you get a certain amount of people add you, you'll get a subscription.
Yeah, you'll get a subscription.
I was younger and I tried doing that, but I just kind of gave up on it because it seemed pointless.
I think we're getting feedback from that because you don't have a cover on that mic.
What, on this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Talking about the whole rejection thing that you just said. Today, actually, I got rejected by a girl, but I didn't really care. It was this girl at Walmart or whatever, and I thought she was cute or whatever. And I was gonna ask her while we were shopping, but I didn't. So then me and Carl drove, and then I saw her, so I pulled up right behind her next to the car. And I was like, yeah, I thought you were pretty cute. I was like, can I get your snap? And she was like, no. And then I was like, oh, what, you got a boyfriend or something? She's like, no. She was stuck up, really stuck up.
Yeah.
And then her mom was pretty cool because when I was driving off, she's like, oh, she's young. But you never know. I can never tell if someone's young or old.
Hell, you're only 18. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing about it, though, was I was asking Frank, I was like, do you feel better now that you went out?
Sure,
and
yeah,
asked
at
her what it
least you took the action.
I was like, and I told him, I was like, because the worst thing she's going to say to you is no.
Yeah.
She's not going to be like, oh my God, you're so ugly. Get away from me.
See, most guys
usually-
don't have the guts to face that. They think it destroys them as a man. What destroys you is when you don't take action, and you always wonder. I wonder what if I would have approached her? What would have happened? You don't do it, but at least if you go up there and, it's just like anything in life. You face the fear. You showed up as a man, and so what? She said no. Who cares? It really has nothing to do with you as a man or you as a person, whether she rejects you or whether she accepts it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think me and Chloe both know. We have a lot of guys come around the house, and we have some friends come over, and they're not acknowledged about women as much as all of us are. And we'll tell them to we'll go up to and talk to a girl, or say, for instance, he wants to hang out with the girl and she's down, but he doesn't want to do anything. Just recently, we had that one homeboy, and he was secondhand in it, seeing if he really wanted to or not, and he was too afraid, but he ended up doing it. And he probably, I don't know how the night went for him, but he probably felt a lot better for it.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, it's if you really go out there and do something that you're not too sure of, it'll make you feel better in the end game.
Yeah, it's way better to go out there and do something than just not do it and feel bad about yourself. Just like going to sparring, there are times when I don't want to go. And the thing is, I feel a lot better after going than if I didn't go.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you that after the run last night, our testosterone levels were up.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
It is, but
It was cool because even after I got done with boxing and I was pretty tired, I still ran with you because I had been trying to run with you for a while. So that was the perfect
I don't know why
opportunity
you
to
guys
run
haven't
with
been
you.
running as much after the workout, so I've been kind of going out by
It's
myself.
been cold. It's cold out there.
It's amazing what a difference
cold.
it makes when you run with somebody as opposed to when you run by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I know
get
what-
yourself to stop
I
you.
always
but
push myself harder not always, but most of the time I have a better run if I run with somebody, and I'll push myself harder than if I'm by myself. So here it talks about the exercise. It says, does exercise increase testosterone? Exercise will boost testosterone, though certain types of exercises increase testosterone more than others. Let me see. Exercise can raise testosterone because it promotes muscle building. The more muscle you have, the higher your testosterone levels. I didn't know that. Now, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be big and bulked, but I guess muscle density compared to fat would probably make quite a difference.
Yeah. Another thing that boosts your testosterone is physical sports. A lot of people need to be more physical because it's like, I'm not saying you're always gonna end up fighting somebody or that you got to go out there and beat the shit out of somebody on the street, but it's like you need to be into physical sport. You know, it makes you more of a man than because you're back then they didn't have sports, but they'd sure as hell go to war. That was their way of being physical, and it makes you more of a man to be more physical than if you were to play something like tennis.
Well, tennis can be pretty rigorous too, but it's like the threat of danger, I think, because it takes, they always talk about young people having high testosterone, like young men fighting and getting aggressive and different things like that.
Mhm.
So to be in a war or to be a warrior, you need high testosterone levels. So thus it would make sense that your testosterone levels would increase if you were in war or going to fight a war.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense because you need that. Just like when you have the fight or flight response, that's why you feel like you got to pee or you got to go to the bathroom because it dumps out everything in you don't need because you got to run away from the tiger.
Yeah.
It's the same way in a war. Well, before you fight, you felt like you got to go to the bathroom. Yeah. It's the normal because you're getting ready for battle. Even if maybe for football too. I know people that get sick.
Yeah.
Some people get sick physically, throw up before they compete.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody get sick, but I hear everybody in the locker room, man, I gotta go pee, man, I gotta do this, I gotta do that.
It's psychological.
I have the same feeling too. It's the nervousness because for me, I wasn't always the smallest kid, but I was pretty small. So it's like I always got that nervousness that someone was just gonna rock my shit on the field.
Yeah.
And it turns out it never happens.
Yeah, it's the fear of the future of something that might not ever happen.
Right.
You know? But yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes whenever I'm getting on my way to sparring or whenever I get in the ring with Frank or Henry, sometimes I'll be nervous. I'll be like, oh man, they're gonna beat the shit out of me. But it never really ends up happening, you know.
Well,
It's always it's like getting in a fight with that one bully. Man, if I back up to him or I stand up to him, he's gonna beat my ass. But it's like, what if that never happens?
See, we're still very much controlled, or at least our body is, by our how would I say, our evolutionary primordial lizard brain. It's still very active.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. They think we have we have advanced so far that we're not affected by that anymore, but we really are.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna say is that the one thing I like a lot more about how I wish I lived in your time than if I lived in like in our time now is if you shake somebody's hand, their hand is super soft. But if you shake somebody's hand like yours, or like people who are like as old as you, their hands are rough. They're not soft at all because they used to work on their cars and stuff like that. They didn't have to go to this shop and get it all fixed up and everything. They had to do it themselves by hand. And not only that, but like if you wanted to build something, you had to build it yourself. Nowadays, you can just go somewhere and they'll have it built for you. But that's the thing. Like people's hands back then used to get hurt. They used to get really physical, or their hands used to get hurt and they used to get roughed up because of using tools. But now, you shake somebody's hand, it's super soft. It's like shaking the damn woman's
I've seen
hand.
this video, and it was this like kid trying to get attention because he like, I don't know. In the comments, he said he put his hand in the exhaust pipe because it's like it has that black stuff, and he just had it black on like the fingers and stuff, and he didn't really have it on his hand. So
yeah.
And then there was a video that was like duetting it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, bro.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And it was on TikTok, and it was this kid. I don't know if it was a dude or a grown man, but his hand, like his fingers, were like degreed. It was like crooked.
Yeah.
I don't know like the word for it, but it was like his fingers all crooked and stuff. It's like he's been working, and he just
Yeah.
showed up this kid. But I thought that was cool because it's like you don't really see that much now.
Mhm.
Check this out. According to Men's Journal, you guys talked about that. It said, get a grip. Millennials have weaker handshakes. It talked about a study they did between 237 healthy young dudes, ages 20 to 34. It said the results on handshake pressure. They were measuring the pressure of the handshake. The results: most 20 to 24-year-old dudes average 101 pounds grip in their right hands and 99-pound grip with their lefts. That's not too bad until you compare them to 20 to 24-year-old men in 1985 who averaged 121 in their right hand and 105 in their left. Respectively, millennials aged 25 to 29 posted even worse declines with grips that are 26 and 19 pounds weaker than the hairband era, which is, I guess, the long-haired guys,
Yeah.
counterparts. Yeah. So what gives? We give credit old man strength, which is a real thing, since the researchers compared men of the same age more likely to blame is the simple fact that the average American worker is hauling fewer, heavier objects and typing more emails than we did 31 years ago. When I was 15 years old or 14, I helped this guy out at a lumberyard, and they'd bring in a flatbed tractor trailer loaded with 90-pound bags of cement. And we'd unload those, and I'd get $5. I mean, it was full. It was like hundreds of bags. I don't even like picking those up now, but I can. But that's the kind of stuff I did when I was a kid. We shoveled, we dug. I worked for a guy when I was 15 and 16. We used shovels, we used picks, and this one time we had to bust through some rock. You know what? We have a I can't remember what the hell it's called. A chisel, a long chisel, and I'd hold it, and he would swing the hammer and hit it until he got tired, and then he would hold it. And I was more worried about hitting him than I was about him hitting me, because he was 75, and that's how we busted through the rock. We didn't have a jackhammer. But
Uh-huh.
that's the kind of stuff we did, and we lifted up and picked heavy things up. We used wheelbarrows and different things like that. Now kids, most of them don't even know how to use a push mower.
Yeah. Another thing about it is that sometimes whenever you're messing around with us and you'll punch me in the arm, man, it hurts like hell. It's like that them older guys' strength, they got some strong ass punches or some hard ass hands. Whereas if somebody our age was to punch us in the arm, it doesn't really hurt. It don't really hurt as bad as if you were to punch us in the arm. It hurts like hell. Not only that, but I remember that picture you had of you that you showed us. I think you were working on your bike or your car.
Yeah.
But you were flipping off the camera, and your hand was ginormous, and you were
Oh,
only
yeah.
15 years
That was back
old.
when I was 15.
Yeah, your hands were huge as hell, and they still are. A lot of people like that don't have big hands. They're just
So
small
here it
woman
says
hands.
women are more likely to marry a man with strong hands, strong handshake. What
Yeah.
does-
Another thing about it is that working with tools and stuff like that, it makes your hands a lot more thick. Makes your
Yeah.
hands thicker.
Well, my hands are thicker now than they were when I was in Central America and I was teaching English. I noticed how weak, because I didn't use my hands for anything. I just taught.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like it, but now they've thickened back up since I started working again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most people don't do anything.
I'm thinking to myself right now. It's like for the position I play in football and what I do with my hands all the time. It's like you'd think out of all the lifting weights, I'd have like what would you call it? Like not soft hands. The other word for it.
Calluses or
I have calluses, but my hands are not. My hands are more soft than they are rough.
yeah.
And it's like I use my hands more.
Do you wear gloves when you lift though?
No, I don't.
See,
I
wear
would
gloves.
just wear bare hands.
Yeah, my hands aren't too. My hands are not near as callous as they were when I used to use a shovel and different things. But
Well, I mean, whenever I'm on the field and dressed up, I use the gloves for the grip for the ball
yeah,
because it's better than just sweaty hands.
Yeah.
And but otherwise, I just lift with my bare hands. I mean, I don't do deadlifts anymore, but I still get calluses from power cleans and everything else.
Yeah, nowadays there'll be like when you used to use shovels, it was just straight like wood. It was just
Yeah.
straight wood. Now you got like shovels that are like the hand was like got rubber around
Padded,
it.
a
Yeah, it's
padded
padded.
handle.
Yeah, it
yeah,
just
ours
make-
were wooden.
yeah, the wooden handles.
everything
you
was
just
wooden.
back then you'd get your hands beat up with that, but now it's got like rubber and everything. So yeah, so
I mean, I don't think,
that your soft hands don't get hurt.
in my opinion, I don't think it really makes a difference. It's just how much you do it, like
Yeah.
how long you've done it for. Because like you may see someone do it and they don't have the roughest hands, but then you could see someone else with the roughest hands,
Mhm.
and they've probably been doing that 15, 16 years. So it's
Yeah.
like,
So what we're seeing here is that most young men now are weaker and softer than. That's where the term
Yeah.
snowflakes and simp.
Another thing about it is that they're more emotional. They're more in
Yeah.
touch with their emotions. Like the I think if you put a person like if you got a person from this generation and you got a person from your generation, they're both like in their 20s. You put them in the middle of a battlefield. You put a whole bunch of guns with them. They're not going to know what to do. But the person from back in your day, they know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
They'd slap that what's it called? Trying to think. I can't even think of what it is. You see, this is what I mean. They'd grab the what's it called? The clip, slap that thing right on the gun, just start firing. But the other guy would be like shaking, wouldn't know what to do, can't
like,
keep
what,
a straight
what do
face.
you want me to do with this?
Yeah.
You heard here. Paulina said she's had a lot of them guys cry in front of her, and it makes her feel ick.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
they
Whenever
don't
I
know
heard
what to
that,
do
it made
with
me
that.
want to cringe.
They
Look,
just
look
don't
at this.
know.
Let's see what Google says. It says, what do women think about men who cry in front of them? This is what they say. 2000. Well, this is an old one too. This is back 2014. It's okay for men to cry, and I think it's okay for men to cry too. But there's a time and a place for it. There is nothing to be ashamed of. If a man cries to a woman, it means she has truly won his heart, and he is not afraid of expressing. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah,
no.
no.
She hasn't won his heart. He's become whipped.
another thing about that is that what's it called? If you cry in front of a girl, I mean, obviously they're gonna hit you with the but they don't know what the hell they
Here
do.
it says, do women care if men cry? Let's see what this
Like Kevin Samuels was talking
According
about
to a
that.
survey of 1,500 people by Elite Singles, 95% of women say they prefer a man who is open about his emotions. Yeah, they say that. But what a woman says she likes and what a woman actually reacts to favorably is two different things. While 97% say 97% say they find that men crying is considered either strong, natural, or healthy. I think that's bullshit. The reason I think it's bullshit is because cry like a man, how women really want their men to show. I've never seen a person get a favorable response from it. Like I said, see how Polly thinks of it. They just don't. They say they want it, but when a man does it, they feel cringy.
Yeah, it's cringe. Yeah, sometimes, or one thing that I get a lot from stuff like that when a guy cries in front of a girl is you get secondhand embarrassment. It's where
Oh,
you get, it's
yeah,
where
yeah.
you get it from like how embarrassing.
I felt
it
cringy
is.
watching movies sometimes where guys do shit like that.
Yeah, you get that secondhand embarrassment. You don't even want to continue watching. It's like oh
JD Trace up there said, "Wish I went to school with them. All the boys I go to school with are pussy and childish."
yeah. Be the lion and
Yeah, there you go. Think about this, JD. It's kind of sad, of course, but there's no competition. You want to be a high value man, you really don't have to work that hard nowadays.
Right.
Because there's not many guys out there that are men. So that's the bright side of it. Yeah, I don't like all the weak men either and the snowflakes, but the bright side is it don't take much to be on top in a group of people like that.
Yeah.
And men and women still want the masculine man, regardless of what they say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say for me and my grade, my school and stuff like that, it's really not that hard. Like it really isn't. I mean, the only competition I have is other guys that have maybe just a better physique than me and stuff like that, better goals. And I mean, they probably have a little bit better game than me, but it's like they've been doing this for so long. Women see how their goals are, and that's
Yeah.
like the top kids. Like everyone else on the team, I won't say names. I really have no competition, and it's really that it's really that easy. It really is.
Another thing about it that I was going to say is a lot of girls in your grade have a tendency to cheat because the men aren't men anymore. They're so soft that they go looking for somebody. who's a
I
man to
laugh. I
sleep
laugh
with.
whenever I see one of my homeboys come to me and be like, "Damn, bro, my girl just cheated on me." And it's like,
Yeah,
what
and
have I been telling you, bro?
Yeah, and that's pretty bad. But it's even worse when they go back the second time.
Oh my
It's
god,
like,
dude,
man.
it's embarrassing.
It's like you know, you learn if you didn't learn your lesson the the first time and you didn't learn it the
What's going to be
second time.
different the second
Yeah,
time?
it's like, well, yeah, what's the second time that it's like there's gonna be no difference, you know? I mean, maybe if you come back as a man, but even then you might as well go find somebody
not even
else.
if she for the
Well, I
streets
think
at
part
that
of the
point.
problem,
Yeah.
you don't have anybody guiding them. Nobody knows. Nobody's there to tell them what to do or what not to do if some
Yeah.
girl starts cheating. That's something I see more of now too. That cheating, a woman cheat or a girl cheating on a man back then or a guy back then was not near as commonplace as it is now. But I believe it's because young men have become so weak that these women don't feel safe for them, and they're looking for the guy that they can, like Tate. They're looking for a Tate in school or somebody like that. Even though many of the women complain about him, he's the epitome of what a man is.
Yeah.
Not what a man is in today's society, but what a man is and was in my time.
Yeah,
Which
it's
they call them misogynist and prejudice and against women. It has nothing to do with that.
yeah. Another thing about it was, let's say for example, sometimes they do jokes like this, like on Snapchat and stuff like that. They'll show them a picture of somebody, and they're like, they'll ask them, "Hey, do you think he's cute?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." It's like, what would you do if he was here right now? If you ask a girl, "Do you like Tate or not?" and they're like, "No, I hate him," and then you ask him, it's like, what would you say to him if he was here right now? They say all this bullshit, but then as soon as Tate shows up, they're stuck. They don't know what to
Yeah.
say.
Right.
They ain't got nothing to say.
I want to add something else about the testosterone too. It's naturally with whenever kids my age grow up, they're like pretty skinny and everything. But I see more and more results of steroids.
Yeah.
I've even heard about it a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And
There, come on over and sit down.
anywho,
Son, Mark, go ahead.
I've seen I've heard a lot of stories about like some of the top players on my team even have steroids, like use steroids. And I won't say any names because I mean I never know where this video could end
Yeah.
up. And it just surprises me. It's like you really had to do that. It's like
Yeah,
you
they
really.
were.
I mean, I understand, but it's like there's always another opportunity for you. There's always another option for you to use something like not use steroids, but do something else besides steroids.
Yeah.
It's like why do you got to do that? Just to
Yeah,
speed
I
up the
guess
process.
It's the need to be number one or be the best or
Right.
whatever it
And I
is.
completely understand that, but I still believe there's another way you could do that.
Oh yeah, there is. It's my son Mark. We're talking about what are we talking about? Youth. The youth then and the youth now. We got off on the testosterone levels are much lower now in young men and even older men than they were when I was growing up, and we're relating that to the fact that back when I was a kid, we had to walk sometimes a mile to see our buddies. We were out playing and doing all those things where now kids are entertained with a phone. They never have to get up and go out and do anything.
Well, you got to think about the widespread availability of like how easy it is to acquire almost anything that you want, like in an aspect of a quick relief. You know what I'm saying? Or a quick, just like for example, like you guys were talking about the steroids. The only reason why people do that is because they're not seeing the results that they want right away.
Yeah.
And most people have grown to have zero patience and zero attention span. I mean, nowadays you got to think about it like TikToks. Each TikTok lasts about 30 seconds maybe. So you got 30 seconds to get to the chase and get somebody's attention,
Mhm.
you know, before completely losing the person. So nowadays, like, you know, it's about what can I do or what can I get or what can happen for me to see results quicker. Now the results aren't going to stay and they probably won't be good. Like, you know, with steroids, there's results, but there's also a price to those results, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, whatever it might be, you lose your hair or whatever it might be, there's still there's going to be a repercussion for that. Oh, well, let me get it quick. Let me get it fast.
They get the immediate gratification, but the long-term consequences they don't really think about because
Exactly.
it doesn't happen right away.
Right
Absolutely.
away.
See, JD Trace, even the coaches and teachers are soft. I twisted my ankle last night in a playoff game, and the coaches wouldn't let me back in the game. That's something else too. And I didn't when we went down and watched the boxing matches, and the little kids, probably 12 and under, they were a draw. I knew it was a close fight. Well, all the kids 12 and under were a draw. It's the same thing. Everybody gets a trophy. God forbid if you hurt the little kids' feelings and they lost the damn fight.
Mhm.
You got to learn how to lose. It's part of life. Competition is part of life. Everybody's not a winner in life. And when we teach these kids growing up that everybody's a winner, what are they going to do when they get out there? Well, I tell you what they do. They get offended. Everybody's hurt. Oh, the world isn't treating me right.
Yeah.
Well, the world's going to treat you the way the world treats you. It depends on what you do with it.
Yeah, I got something to speak on about that. I don't know how serious your injury was, but I wish you a speedy recovery and everything. But my coach was a little bit different. I mean, he'll look at it and everything, but if he thinks you're fine, you're walking on it and stuff, he'll make you play. And I don't know how serious your injury was, but maybe it was something a little bit more, and he just wanted to keep you in just so you don't get a further injury and
Well, a
stuff
lot
like
of times
that.
too. Let's say he did put him back out there and he got hurt worse, or maybe you got the mothers. And
Right,
Usually
right.
the mothers up there just Karen's going if they really got hurt, really going down, getting down on the principal or the coach or whoever, and could he actually even bring a lawsuit to him?
Mhm.
So a lot of times the coaches might want to be harder on you, and I don't, like I said, I don't know the situation either, but they're afraid. I mean, back in my day, the coach would grab you by the back of the neck and tell you to shut the hell up. Or, or if you got in a fight, he'd grab both of you and throw you down, and you might get your ass whipped, and that'd be the end of it. There wouldn't be this kicking out of school. So it's just so different now because their hands are tied. They can't really. The coaches in my day were really rough on people, but they made good players. Now most of the coaches are, and there are probably some soft ones too, but they're afraid to be as disciplined as they were in my day because
Right.
they'll get in trouble or lose their job, or some parent will come in there. Why are you so mean to my kid?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things too. You got to think about, like you said, it goes deeper than just the coach not wanting to put him out there. They could take the chance on getting sued for something,
Yeah.
but then that goes even deeper. It shows even deeper of a problem. A lot of these boys are getting, and like you guys said, we don't know the situation, but a lot of these boys are getting into these sports and stuff, and who's the one taking them to the sporting events and just really watching them all the time? It's really mainly their mothers, because most of these guys don't have dads. They don't have father figures. They don't have a proper father figure in their life. Because, if we were playing football or something and coach told dad, like, oh, this isn't that, this isn't that, like, he can't go out there. It's like, man, just get him back out there. He's fine. You know what I'm saying? He's fine. So a lot of these people, a lot of these younger men, these younger guys have to deal with the fact that their mothers are the ones watching them and that they're the ones that are pretty much like, for example, suing if he went out there and actually broke his ankle all the way rather than just spraining it,
Yeah.
So really, like you said, it's just a lack of, at the end of the day, it's a lack of masculinity, a lack of being men, a lack of men overall in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say something like that too. Ever since I lost my dad, I would walk myself to practice and everything. I mean, I never had a problem with my mom driving me or something like that. I mean, if it was like really cold, like snowing, freezing, stuff like that, I would have her take me occasionally. But from now on, I always walk and everything. And if my dad see me injured out there, he would tell me to get my ass back in there. And I definitely think it's not the coaches, but it's more of the precautions behind it. For instance, like getting sued or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you see now up to school, very few kids walk to school. They got a line of cars up there a mile long where everybody's taking their kid to the door. They watch them walk in the door, but the media has them so afraid. They think there's a pervert on every corner and their kids are going to get shot up in school. And it is happening. I certainly understand that. But
I walk almost 365 days a year to school, and I don't have a single problem. And I walk a mile to school every day. And everybody else is like, man, dude, why don't you just drive? And I'm like, well, what's the problem with walking?
Right.
It's like, there's nothing different. I see all y'all driving, and you don't stop to ask me that one then, or even offer me to ride. And even if I did, I mean, I'll take a ride here and there, but it's like, why not walk?
Yeah.
I mean, Go
That's
ahead.
exactly like you said. Like, why not? Like, a lot of the times, like, people get really complacent and lazy. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, granted, there is obviously always going to be trouble everywhere you go. I mean, whatever. But like he's told us multiple times, whatever you put your focus on is what you're going to receive. So you sit there and watch the media all the time, see videos of these kids getting stolen, constantly watching that. Something close to that is going to happen to you. It might not happen to you. It might happen to your friend or something, but you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of what you're sitting there feeding your mind, what you're sitting there watching. It's everywhere. You can't get away from, you hardly can get away from stuff like that, So
I wonder what the chances are. It's like traveling out of the country. If you read the warning from the government page, travel.gov, they'll like make you think that you're going to get kidnapped, held up and robbed if you go to this country or that country. I mean, you could go to Chicago and they're killing people up there every day, or St. Louis, same thing down there.
Yeah.
But yet they make, out of all the millions of people that travel to these different places, and think about how many millions of kids go to school every day and nothing happens. Your chances of getting killed in a plane crash or a car accident are much greater than getting shot in a school.
Yeah.
Although it's a terrible thing, but but they got everyone so afraid that if they don't keep their eyes on their kid at the whole time, something's going to happen. But think about it. The kids that got shot in the school, they couldn't watch them then. So it's like, you just, if your time is coming, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can't protect your kids all the time. You just can't do it. You got to use some common sense, but you got to let go because you really just can't. You just can't do it.
You can't sit there
It's kinda
and worry
like-
about what's going to happen all
Yeah.
the time. It's sitting there trying to control at that point. You
Well,
know?
and that's why we got so many snowflake kids because probably, I mean, I would say that if you let your kids climb trees and they fell down, you could possibly get in trouble by the DFS for being a negligent person. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't see kids climbing trees anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like you really don't see it, and that, like it says, it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. Everybody's got their phones. You know, even I find myself having a hard time. Today, I had to get out. I had to go enjoy and seize the day because it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous day. But in other instances, and maybe some other weekends, you'll catch me just sitting there on my phone all the time. It's quicker and more gratifying. Like I get more gratification off the bat off of seeing my phone rather than going on a walk. And then 5 years later, I think about that walk that we went on and we're like, wow, that was a gorgeous walk. I'm glad I took that in. You know, you sit there and think like being on my phone all the time, making memories with that is better than making actual memories with your brain and thinking about the whole entire thing. But like that, like it's easy. There's a lot of exposure when it comes to having a phone. A lot of exposure. So like, you know, with the whole thing going back to
Well, you have
things
to,
and
you have
people
to
being-
consciously make a decision to realize, oh, look, I'm looking at my phone too
Yeah,
much. I got-
exactly.
Yeah.
People get hypnotized by this
Yeah,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
And another thing
Go ahead.
about being on your phone a lot is you know you want to get some sort of feeling out of it. Getting on your phone, it's a quick fix. It's a quick fix to get whatever the hell you want. But another thing I was gonna say about it is on what's it called, on iPhones and stuff like that, you can check your screen time, like how
Yeah,
long you
it'll
look,
give
how
you a
long.
warning or a
Uh-huh.
timer to get off of it and stuff.
Yeah. Like it'll tell you how long you're on your phone, or like it'll tell you like, hey, you've been like on your phone this long, you've been on your phone that many hours, and then sometimes it'll tell you the same thing if you're not on your phone at all for like maybe if you're not on there for like maybe an hour a day, like in a whole month, it'll tell you like how long your screen time is.
Yeah, I do gotta add something about what you were saying. Is the media has such a problem with like putting like bad images in people's minds since everybody's always on their phone. Take it for like Africa. Africa is a pretty beautiful place, but it's like, I mean, I know there's a bunch of problems going on with like genocide and shit like that, but besides that, it's like a pretty beautiful place and generally. But it's like everybody's always on their phones, and they're not gonna go travel out because they're too busy on their phones. So it's like you might as well put a bad image on a place as beautiful as that. So it's like you never know if it's going to be bad or good because the media always have an influence.
So
on
it's
it.
about the perspective and everything. It's easy, like especially with social media, it's easy to make somebody like, you know, think about
Frank.
one certain
Can you
thing
get
all
that
the
off
time.
there?
Like
Delete that?
it's I don't know how to explain it. Like for example, right now, like on like the algorithms, with the algorithms is like as soon as you watch one video, even if you don't watch the video, if you just scroll past it, you'll get more and more of it, you know. So now what's going on my TikTok, what I'm seeing the most of is the war in the Ukraine. You know, that's been, like you said, that's been going on for years, but now there's just so much more of a focus, and
Right.
everyone has phones. So I'm watching videos straight up from the war, you know,
Yeah.
gruesome videos, terrible
Yeah.
videos, but they're just being fed out to me. And so what I'm thinking, if they're being fed to me, who else are they being fed to? Younger kids, like older adults, people who actually eat it up and go.
You know, also how that works is when they find out what you watch.
Yeah,
They
it's
feed
the
you more
algorithm.
and more.
Yeah, it's
they
the
feed you
algorithm.
more and more
Yeah.
of the same thing.
Yeah, another thing I was gonna say is back in your day, Dad, people used to kids used to move out of the house whenever they were financially good enough to move out. But now you got kids who are living with their parents till they're in their like 30s. Yeah.
40s even.
Yeah, they'll stay with their parents. Or sometimes, like when you were young, you used to go out of state, you used to go wherever. But now you got kids staying in the same state, not going out like you. Mark's the minority. He left, like he went all the way to California. Didn't even think about, like, didn't even plan ahead. Just boom, one day was like, you know what, let's go, and he just did it.
For fun.
Yeah,
for fun.
We just went out to California. Most kids won't even do that because they're afraid of like everything they see on their phones or on the news. It's like, oh, it scares the crap out of them, so they won't go out.
And you got to think about it too. Like a lot of people, most people wouldn't have done that because they're afraid of, oh, am I going to get kidnapped? Oh, am I going to get trapped?
Yeah.
Way there. Yeah, those are the chances, but that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
That's what makes, you know, I'm obviously not sitting there thinking, oh, if I go, I have a chance to get in traffic. Okay, that's exciting. No, but I'm not thinking about the
Yeah,
what ifs.
you're
I'm just,
thinking
oh,
about you're thinking about how exciting it would be to be somewhere you've never been before. Like you were never to California before,
Yeah.
so going there that first time, that's where you were looking forward to,
exactly. I
because
wouldn't-
you've seen pictures of it. Like, oh man, this place looks nice. I want to
Exactly,
go.
Exactly. It's about taking the chance and taking the risk. That's a big problem that we don't have nowadays. You know what I mean? People
Everybody-
don't take
yeah.
the chance. People don't take the risk.
Everybody's in their
It's-
comfort zone.
Exactly. It's scary, but I mean, that goes right back to you letting your kids go to school.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's a scary thing, and it's kind of nervous because your child's going to a place that you don't know much about.
I
But
got it, Frank.
it's all about taking the risk. It's
Yeah.
all about going and doing that thing that you really, really
It's
wanted
off.
to.
Yeah, another thing about it is back then whenever dad was younger, there probably wasn't ever really a thing such as a comfort zone. Obviously there is a comfort zone, but back then everybody used to get out of their comfort zone, but now people will stay in it because that's where they feel safe. They don't go out, they're not outgoing.
Speaking of the schools, back then in like his younger days, you never seen any school shootings or stuff like that. But now with
No.
social media and everything, you see it every so
Well,
often.
we didn't have anything like
Yeah,
that.
you-
'cause
you-
back then the teachers would whip your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
had a
right,
big old
right. You
battle.
had that, and I'm not.
Actually, and a lot of where I went to school up in, I don't know, maybe here too, but yeah, a lot of times guys brought their guns to have
Right.
in the back of the truck. I mean,
And I mean, there's some. I'm not gonna say like what I know in their minds, but it's like maybe it's not exactly that they're going to shoot up a school. Maybe it's for protection because there was a school that got shot up in St. Louis just recently. Yeah, and they found like 4 kids. We played a team, and their school got shut down because kids got caught with guns in their school. And I'm thinking maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something deeper than that for protection or something.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
There's like a big argument right now going on with to arm the teachers and everything, and that's like maybe for another episode. But for the most part, that's one of the biggest arguments going on right now. It's like arm the teachers. Like, well, that makes more sense to me than ban all guns. I mean,
Mhm.
because if you want to get a gun on the
You can get a
street,
gun.
you can get a gun. Like, that's probably the most unrealistic thing that I've heard about the whole thing is ban all guns.
you can't-
Where
yeah,
does
the
that?
only people that have guns in is criminals.
Well,
The
yeah,
thing- yeah,
and I
another-
don't know. Like, don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure if my facts are straight. But I've heard Britain outlawed guns for a long time, but now you get these people who are going on knife attacks
they
and
gotta-
they're attacking for 30, 45 minutes because the police officers don't have
Yeah.
guns, the proper guns to take them down.
Another
you
thing.
know?
Another thing about it is you got these security guards at schools. It's like if a teacher's not gonna be like if a teacher's not gonna have a gun, at least have the guard have a gun,
Right.
because you don't know if that kid's walking in there with a trench coat, you better know
Yeah,
he
and
got
that's another thing.
something in
And-
there.
But even all that goes right back to like you were saying, like there's like the lack of testosterone, there's a lack of a man there, because I can guarantee you if you look at most of those kids come out of single mother households.
Single mother house.
So you think about it, like I guarantee you if they would have had a dad there and they even brought it up, that dad might beat the shit out of them, but they ain't gonna go do it, because
Yeah.
there's fear instilled in them.
Mhm.
There's no fear instilled in any of these kids nowadays because you can be as tough as you want behind the camera, and then when it comes down to it, you can just pick something up and just get to doing what
Yeah.
you think is right. Or
you know,
at
we
the time.
played army and shot and killed
Yeah.
each other and stuff. We was kids, so I can't really say it's the games. A lot of people blame it on the games, and that may have something to do with if you're doing that from the time you're. I mean, the parents put those kids on those games, as we spoke earlier, as a babysitter. So if they're seeing, constant killing, it does program your mind to some degree.
It just depends what kind. I think that's kind of like up to the parent. You have to read your kid to see if he's like susceptible to stuff like that because, it didn't desensitize me to killing because
Dumb.
I'll still see a video of somebody dying and put my phone down and just try to not think about it,
Mhm.
So really most people be like, oh, well, if I can't even see that on camera, what makes you think the video games desensitize me to do it in person, So really it's just kind of like parents are obviously there's a lot of responsibility on them, but that's part of read your kid. If it looks like, the kid kind of has those tendencies, then, might want to not reject.
Yeah, most of that stuff, like most of those problems that happen are from like households that are like, not really, broken, not really stable. But the thing is that the reason it wasn't so common back then was because there was a husband and wife. The wife loved the husband. The husband loved the wife. They the mother stayed
Or
home.
they say tolerated.
Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah. The mother stayed home, and then the man went to work, and obviously, the kid would wake up early and go to school. You got kids who are late all the time
All
at
the
school
time.
now, and the thing is that even whenever it would snow, Dad would still go to school, or at least try to make it on time. But now,
And that's like you were saying, lack of authority.
yeah,
There's lack
yeah,
of
there's a lot,
authority
yeah,
because
We
people-
never got off for heat
Well,
or
and-
cold.
Right,
it's
and
like
that's the thing.
now.
Like with the lack of authority, it's not only with the parents, but with everything. Like
Mhm.
people just aren't scared of anything. Granted, I don't necessarily. I'm not the fondest with the police, but I see these people like what did I do? What did I do? Jerking away from their parents. Like,
Uh-huh.
oh, you didn't have a dad, did you?
yeah,
You can tell when the people usually who fight against the bigger authority that you obviously can't win against. You
Yeah.
can tell.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you probably didn't have a dad. did you?
another
You probably
thing,
didn't have a parent.
another thing about it is like nowadays they'll take their kid's iPad away, and then the kids cussing the hell out of the parent. Whereas in back then, your parent took like back in your day, you cuss at your dad, he's smacking the shit out of you.
Yeah, I
He's
wouldn't
making
even
sure you
think
keep
about
your damn
I
mouth
wouldn't even
shut.
consider doing that.
I wouldn't consider talking to my parents the way that some of these kids did. Now, granted, I smarted off and learned as I grew up, but
Yeah,
some of these kids, I mean, like it's just f you this, f you that,
Mhm.
like talking to their parents like they're nothing,
Mhm.
So it's like crap, man. Like I said, lack of authority. If there was more authority, if people respected authority more, and weren't so entitled to thinking, oh, I can do whatever the hell I want, then maybe there needs to be a little bit more repercussions.
yeah,
You
and
know
then
what I mean?
sometimes some of the reasons that kids cuss at their dad, it has to do with like how men are being what's it called, bashed. Yeah, being bashed for being
they're not allowed to
men.
be men. You're not allowed to whoop your kid's ass no more.
Uh-huh.
I'll say this, and I've read this hashtag multiple times. Hashtag ass whooping saved my life. I've seen
Yeah.
that a lot because recently they were talking about bringing spanking back to school, and oh my god, like most of the people who were talking about like lay a hand on my kid, I'll kill you. Were the
Yeah,
women.
they
Or
can
the
they
women.
can spank up here, but they won't do it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Yeah.
legal in Missouri.
They still do it.
Is it
I remember
really?
whenever
Yeah.
It's legal.
yeah,
but they won't-
whenever
as long as you don't leave a mark. So.
Yeah.
whenever you and I were in school, they still
in
whoop
Guatemala,
kids.
yeah. Whenever we were still in school, in the boys' school in Guatemala, they whooped our asses with them damn yardsticks, and it hurt too. It
Uh-huh.
hurt bad. But
That
that was
sure
the
would.
thing. Like that's the thing. There's no authority, and what's wrong with
No consequences.
no consequences? And-
Immediate consequences, not just.
exactly.
Well, we're going to kick you out of school. Most of us didn't want to go to school.
Right,
anyway,
and
so
that's the thing.
Do me a
like,
favor, kick
right,
me out.
kick me out.
Oh, geez, please don't kick me out.
And when they go home, their parents can't whoop their asses because then you get the nosy neighbor, or you get the nosy teacher.
yeah.
Oh, are you okay? And then they get people involved, and it just ends up. There's certain things that you just need to stay out of. Now, granted, if a kid's getting beat and coming to school like scared, you can tell. You
Yeah.
can really tell. But
Another thing is that for example, like how I was talking about, like if a kid asks his dad, like, hey dad, can I go to a friend's house, the dad will be like, go ask the boss, and the
Right,
boss is the
change.
mom.
Dad,
Yeah, and then that's when kids hear that, it makes them think, okay, the mom's the boss. I'm not. Why should I be afraid of my dad?
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, granted, I appreciate every single one of my customers, but there's been some times where I'm like, hey, would you like this done or this painted or this done a certain way? Oh, let me go ask the boss real quick. And then the wife ends up coming out and telling me what to do. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay. I'm like, what makes her the boss? You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of what's I'm kind
Yeah.
of curious about it, but a lot of these men just give up that role of being a boss and then just end up giving it to their wife or spouse or whatever it is, and then wonder why she's out. She looks like shit, but she's out cheating on him still.
Uh-huh.
And he's sitting at home with his plane collection, and his magazines, and just sitting at home while
Yeah, what kind of example does that do for the children?
for the children.
too?
So
Mhm.
and then
Functional,
it
healthy
becomes
relationship.
generational, and the
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
see it, and then they go and get with a woman who's like that. And granted, it's like that with any situation, but that's probably one of the worst situations that you could be in.
Yeah.
Just that
Women
cycle.
are not happy with a man like
No.
that.
That makes
Don't
me
respect
very thankful that I grew up with a older dad. I mean, he was probably like, I think 11 years older than my mom. He'd be, if he was still around right now, he'd be like 10 years younger than you, so he'd be pushing 51, I'm pretty sure. But he acted just like you. I mean, he didn't have the knowledge that you did, but he grew up in the older times, so he still had the tendencies for it.
Well, and a lot of the things that people are like, oh, well, things change and times change. Things change and times do change, but morals don't.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have any morals, then there's, like you said, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, what time of year it is, what generation you're in. you still have to have morals. You still have to have some sort of like
We used to have I don't know if they still have it, a commercial or it'd be on the radio says it's 10 o'clock. You know where your kids are.
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
No, I've never heard
It
it.
makes me think about the time I was here and then we had that storm
Yeah.
and how many kids were downstairs.
Oh man, I don't know. There was.
The story
The
was,
ice storm a
yeah,
while
it was a
ago.
long time ago, and there was that deal about the girl doing something with that guy.
Oh yeah,
We won't go into detail there, but the DFS called me, and I'm like, maybe they should be thinking about the parents. It's like 3:00, and they
Right,
came to
right.
my house to my
Yeah.
basement because it was a tornado. So they came here for shelter. But she was acting like I should have known what was going on. I'm like, I'm sleeping.
Yeah,
I didn't even know they were
remember
here.
that, yeah.
I'm 3 stories up.
Yeah.
I
I-
can't hear anything.
At the time, I think I was
Yeah,
stuck
we
in
were all-
school.
we were
Yeah,
all down in the basement though. Like it was.
Yeah, it was
like
a-
you said,
yeah.
it was a.
I've heard the story before, but at that time I was younger, so I was like 3rd, 4th grade. I was
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah. So
And,
it was like around 3 a.m.
Yeah, they
or
were
something like
telling
that, wasn't
me.
it?
This lady was telling. I'm like, I'm in the airport getting ready to travel, and she's calling me up and asking me about this because I guess the girl got in trouble 6 months down the road, so she's acting like she was forced to do something. And the story was she was begging to be with this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
But I guess she got caught, so she changed her story to get herself out of trouble. But the lady's telling me that I need to put cameras in the house and locks on the windows. If I did that, they would think there was something wrong with me.
Right.
But
You're. Yeah.
I can't be controlling. I got a big house here. It's like
You can't
what
hear
do you
every door.
I
open.
How you gonna hear
hear
something 2 floors
I'm gonna
below
stay up
you?
all
Yeah.
night.
And
And
I mean-
watch cameras all morning. I mean, my thing was this: where were the parents of these kids?
Mhm.
Why didn't they know these 13, 14-year-old kids weren't out in a terrible storm at 3:00 in the
3
morning?
o'clock in the
Instead of
morning,
getting on
yeah.
me and saying, "I need to know everything that goes on in the house."
Or-
I mean,
or-
I got to sleep.
Or even it's not necessarily that they have to thank you, but be kind of grateful. Oh, my kids were there and safe. And so
Yeah.
rather than out in the storm and stuff.
Yeah,
or-
I can't control what these kids have learned from their parents or what their parents
Exactly.
allow them, or
Well,
that they don't
think-
have the morals or whatever.
Think about it. Either way, you're at a double-edged sword there. If you wouldn't have let them in, you'd be
Yeah,
demonized
I'd be.
because
of course,
oh,
I didn't let them in or not. I
right,
was
and of
sleeping.
course, right. But let's
Yeah.
say they're like, oh, well, you need to be there. And what did she want you to do if they were there? Stay up all night and watch us?
I suppose we're trying to figure out who their
I
parents
mean,
are.
right.
Have
It's
them
like,
come and
Like,
get
what
them.
are you gonna do? Go drive out in a blizzard, pretty much?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, but so it all blew over. But I'm like, what am I supposed to do about it? It's
Yeah.
like I can't
yeah,
stay up all night. I
and
got
that's the
6
thing.
kids, and they have kids come over, and the parents need to know. Actually, you guys were having a party here once. It's been 5 or 6 years ago, and some of the parents were saying, "Were you going to be responsible? Are you going to watch the kid?"
Yeah.
I said, "No. If you're that worried about your kids,
And they probably don't need to come.
they don't need to be here
Yeah.
because I'm not going to stand out there all night. If your kids aren't responsible enough, basically, if you haven't raised them well enough, they're going to behave. Then I don't want them here.
Yeah.
I can't watch. I'm not going to stay up till 12 or 1 o'clock at night and watch a bunch of kids and make sure nobody does anything wrong.
Back then, it was longer than just 12 or 1. It was like it would go into the next morning.
Yeah, and like
Yeah,
you said,
so-
like you said, if your kids aren't, if you don't trust your kid to be able to make a decision if he's under some sort of pressure, then your kid probably shouldn't be going out. He or she shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, they didn't
Going out.
come.
It's
and I
it's good to look out for your kid, but you should also educate him enough to look out for himself
should
if
know
he's
how to
old
act.
enough
They
to go
should
to
know
a
how to
party.
How to act right.
What's this opinion on Cry?
Oh, Kyrie, the
Kyrie-
basketball player.
What's up with him?
I don't know.
I-
Is there anything
hold on,
going with him
I'll
right
look it
now?
up.
Look at the headline.
We're not familiar with that.
I've seen him
JD,
pop
but
up a
we'll
lot
check
on
it out here,
But
see what
no,
the guys
so
think.
like you said, there's got to be some sort of, and here's the thing. I think about constantly like how much I wasn't a bad kid, but I got in trouble quite a bit. I'm thinking about how much worse the trouble would have been if you were more controlling, if you did lock my windows, if you did end up like putting cameras everywhere and all that. So you gave me my freedom and gave me enough freedom to where I didn't go and hurt myself, but I was able to explore and be able to figure out what the real world is kind
Yeah.
of consists of. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I said, what is the issue with Kyrie Irving currently? And it says Kyrie Irving will begin suspension of at least 5 games Friday over anti-Semitism
Um,
Did he
controversy.
say something?
Yeah. So
Probably. I don't know all that.
Recently, Kanye, we have to walk around this right now because there's a lot of people like really messing with that.
So that's what it
Kanye
is.
pretty much said something about
Said something about the
Jewish people
Yeah, I seen what he said.
running the world, and he lost his contract. He's no longer a billionaire. He's lost $2 billion in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, I saw what he said. I mean,
Well-
Jewish people are very wise with money. They practice tithing, which I practice
Mhm.
that because they practice it.
Exactly.
So I think we all have, we got to be careful what we say, but we all have, each culture has different traits and characteristics. and it's just part of who we are as a culture.
which is what makes you different.
I
Like,
know. So I didn't, maybe I didn't hear everything he said, but I didn't see anything he said. It was,
well, for the most part,
Racist or
people like
anything.
us, we're not going to think much of it. But I guess the people who are following the lead of everybody else are going to. But Kyrie, I guess, said something along those lines too. I'm sure it was something supporting what he said.
I guess what I
something,
was
so-
thinking about is what Kanye said.
Kanye said.
Okay,
Well,
that's what I
But no,
heard.
and that's what I'm saying. I think that Kyrie said the same thing.
Oh, I didn't hear what
He either
said.
supported.
probably could have been-
It was. They said the same. Anti-systemist or whatever.
Anti-Semitism.
So basically, you
Semitism.
can't say anything. I can't. My kids are half Spanish, so if I say they like beans, is that like
no,
racist?
and that's We're
Right.
actually talking about that.
I love frijoles, so I don't.
Me and somebody
Well,
else
I
were
do
talking
refried
about
beans.
that.
I
Like,
learned.
It is gas. It is gas. I got a lot.
I learned to eat those when I lived in Central America. So
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like, I don't understand why.
Well, a lot of people have get very mad at the stereotypes. A lot of people, some people will ask me, "Oh, you know how to make tacos?" Yeah, of course I know how to make tacos. My mom was Hispanic. I grew up around. It's not a racist question to me. If you're soft, you're gonna take it that way. But if you sit there and ask me, like, "Oh, can you cook tacos well? Can you make guacamole?" Yeah, I can. And why? It's because of where I grew up. Where my cultural background is from. We've talked about this a lot of the times as everybody's so focused on making sure everybody's exactly the same and that they're all quote unquote equal, but our differences, that's what makes us unique and what makes us special, what makes us, different and everything. All Kyrie did was repost a documentary about the truth about the power that Jewish people hold and said that he wasn't apologizing, and now he's suspended and lost his Nike shoe deal. Oh man. So he said the same exact thing. He said, pretty much saying,
well, anybody who has money has power that other people don't have. So whether it be Jewish people, black people, white people, Hispanic people, whatever, the corporations and the rich people basically have run the world since the beginning of time.
wait.
Nothing else is new about that.
Yeah, I seen it was first Kanye that lost everything of him, and then it was Kyrie. But I haven't
I
known.
just found out about this.
I don't
just
know
now.
the story, so I mean, we'll
Yeah,
have
I
to talk
just-
about it
I can't say
after.
much about it either because I really don't know the
Yeah,
details.
we could talk about it after, so
But yeah,
nothing
no.
goes wrong with
I
that.
mean, hey, nowadays it's just kind of like if you're on the internet, your First Amendment is abolished. Like you don't have the First Amendment. Now, granted, everything that you say comes with consequences, but everybody's saying, like for example, all he did was repost something that somebody else said.
Oh,
Now,
is that-
yeah.
okay.
So granted, maybe he was agreeing with it and everything like that, but that that really does nothing for you. So really, I don't know. It's
Well, I'm really
Yeah.
surprised that they allow people to repost Tate stuff. I'm
yeah.
surprised they're not just banning everybody, but I guess there's so much flack going on.
Yeah.
And contrary to what
It-
they
you
wanted,
might
they
as well
wanted,
just-
they wanted to silence him. Contrary, they've actually made him bigger.
Mhm.
You might as well just ban everybody. Then
Yeah,
at that point.
some people DM me and they'll say, "I hate when you post this shit." It's like,
Yeah.
well,
It's the truth.
I
Uh-huh.
can't. People gave up on me. They quit calling me a misogynist and everything like that because and a lot of the times it was guys. It was guys who were like, dude, you treat women like this. Like I don't treat women a certain way. I don't treat them wrong. I don't lie to them. I treat them the way that they want to be treated. As
Yeah.
you always say, there's a certain way that they want to be treated. And you have to be able to see through it. And you have to be able to do what you got to do as a man and continue to step forward. You can't let anything bug you. I get to the point with these people on the internet and everybody else. They're just like children. Just ignore it and it'll go away. After
see, one thing I was gonna say is, since we were talking about the generations, is back in your day, there's probably more men than there is now. Nowadays, the alpha male is a dying race.
It's a dying breed of
Well,
people.
he's criticized, he's ostracized, he's told he's toxic. They say it about me just because I have traditional values. Say a woman, say you should know your place. You're a terrible misogynist. Why is that? Okay, I know my place.
Mhm.
And if I tell you guys you need to know your place as a man, you need to protect your woman and provide for her. But women have forgotten they don't feel like they need a man to protect for them or provide for them directly because men, and I say this all the time, have created a society safe enough and provisional enough that a woman doesn't need a man directly.
Yeah.
But let all the men quit doing what they're doing today. Who goes out at night when the electricity goes off and fixes the poles and the wires when it's storming and tornadoes and lightning? Men do that.
Yeah.
Men take care of that. Who fixes the sewers? Men do it. You don't see women trying to get those jobs, and those jobs pay very well. Let the men stop doing that, and women would all men and women would revert back to their natural gender roles. But people don't like to hear that. That's just a fact. That's the way it is. Go to other countries go to third world countries. Back in where we lived in Guatemala, they wouldn't let women drive trucks. I mean, women here think they're oppressed. They don't know what oppression is. And when women from other countries come here, they don't understand why women think they're oppressed, because those women know what real oppression is. Women here are put up on a pedestal, actually, and that's what happens to the individual men is they go out, or the young men, and they put women on a pedestal, and the women don't like that. And then guys don't realize, why can't I have a girlfriend? Because they're doing what society has taught them, to put this woman on a pedestal. Women don't want. I've had them tell me they don't want to be on a pedestal. They don't like that. They don't want to be your center of attention. But yet in our society, we're making women such a center of attention. I don't think they should be oppressed, and I don't think it should be like when I was growing up, as far as we had an alcoholic across the way there. I think most of them was alcoholics. He would beat shit out of his wife, and nobody would do anything. Of course, she stayed, but I don't think that's right either. But now it's come full circle where a woman can damn near, you guys, if you're in school, a girl could come up to you and hit you upside the head with a book 2-3 times. And if you nailed her and punched her and knocked her down to protect yourself, you'd probably be in a lot of trouble.
Did you just hit her?
And that's the thing.
Oh my God.
Then you get the people who are like, okay,
So
well,
it's gone back the
if
other
you're
way,
such a
too.
man, then why can't you just take it? You know, and that's where that comes in and just makes a goddamn mess about it. Like you said, like there's what feminists and stuff have built, like, is a very dangerous kind of like thought process for men nowadays, you know, because now I was reading something to somebody the other day. I was like, 78% of all suicides are men, 78% of them. And the first thing I heard come out of a woman's mouth was, all them pussies, and I kind of just scratched my head. And granted, it's a selfish decision in my opinion, but everyone goes through their own kind of problems, So,
Yeah.
and why is that? It's because there's no necessarily, I'll say, like, for lack of a better word, safe outlets for men to go to talk about what's really going on. But as men, we're not really supposed to like necessarily talk about it. We just stuff it down and keep working and provide. There was a study done recently. I can't remember where I read about it, but this feminist, she actually dressed up as a man, carried herself as a man.
Talking about
She
the
wrote
Tate
a book,
one?
and
Yeah.
she did it for like 2 years straight.
Yeah, I
After
read
2
about
years, she ended up
Committing
she ended up
suicide,
committing
yeah.
suicide.
Yeah, she found out how hard it was to be a man.
Because there was no one gives a shit. No one cares. No one really, and as bad as it seems, mostly nobody cares. If you're a man and you start crying, people get disgusted. They
Yeah.
will become disgusted. And I can't blame them, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I see why. As a man, you're supposed to be strong. You're not supposed to break under any sort of pressure.
Yeah, so they want to tell you to be strong, and that's what they expect of you. But on the other hand, they expect you to act like a snowflake. So
Yeah.
it's like you're told you're supposed to be both. When it's necessary, we want you to be toxic. We want you to be the policeman who wrestles down the killer or the school shooter. We want you to be the person that can go to war and kill people and kill men, innocent men, women, and children, which happens all the time in war. But yet, when you're here, we want you to submit to us and don't ever be violent. If anybody hurts you or does anything to you, we want you to take that and just live with it. So it's like they want you to be masculine and strong in one respect, and in the other respect, they don't want it, and they actually shame you for it.
It's two different worlds.
My friend who went to the Vietnam War, he came back and he said, you go over there, you kill people that never did anything to you. People that have families and kids just like you, because they tell you that's the right thing to do. You come back here and somebody can come in and grape your woman, or kill one of your kids, and you're not supposed to do anything about that yourself. You're supposed to let the law handle it. So he really had a difficult time with that, and I can understand why. But because the government says it's okay to go over there and hurt people, that's fine. But to do it over here, it's not. It's
kind of something like Muhammad Ali said. It's like they expected me to go fight for them, and then I come back to my home country, and they won't even accept me for who I am.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, with me wrapping it up on my end, I mean, one of the things is, as a man, you can it's a double-edged sword, but you can take one or two sides. You can either be a man and just move forward and ignore what everybody says and just be a man and make that one, make some lucky lady or ladies happy, you know what I'm saying? Or tuck your fucking tail and shut up. And
Yeah.
F off, you know?
See, the thing is, the men that they want are the men that they bash.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
You know how when people are like, when people talk about somebody and they're like, but I don't care. Well, if you didn't care, you wouldn't talk about it.
Mhm.
You know, they talk about what they don't want. Like, oh, I don't want a man who's misogynist, this and that. But yet, who are they picking?
Yeah, who are they
Um,
chasing? Who are they complaining about?
I've
Yeah,
got more
and that-
success being a dick, being ignorant, and not caring about nobody else but myself when it comes to women than I did whenever I was praising them and treating them like a queen.
Yeah, another thing about it is that people you got all these women saying they hate Andrew Tate, but look at all the women. Okay, you got these girls saying they hate Andrew Tate, but then you got these women who are with Andrew Tate. The reason I'm saying women different from girls is because a woman wants a man like Tate.
Yeah.
These girls don't know what they want, so they're just bashing Tate, thinking, oh, he's this misogynistic asshole. It's like, no, but if he was right in front of you, I guarantee you'd try to sleep with him.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna wrap it up here. Question there. He says, "What type of music you guys listen to?" I'm rock and
Rap.
roll. I like some classical piano.
I mean, I'm into it all. I mean, I've listened to what you listened to before, but I mean, I kind of just listen to what the guys listen to.
Yeah.
They put me on the music.
You like to rap, don't you?
I don't want to limit myself to saying just rap because rap is not the only thing I like. I
Yeah.
make rap. I mainly make work of rap, but
Hmm.
everything. Country, I'm a bit iffy on, but everything.
I mean,
Everything.
hey, there's some pretty good fire country songs.
Yeah, oh
I can't
yeah,
even
for
lie.
Not much in
Yeah.
country.
No.
Maybe some of it's okay.
Some are okay, like I said, but
I mean, it's all around us for where we live.
All
So
right, we're gonna wrap it up. I got a meeting to go to, and thanks for joining us. Thanks for participating in the chat.
appreciate it, JD
Join,
Trace.
join us again next week at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And remember, on December 3rd, we're going to have Alpha Kingdom here, AV Alpha Villains, and King Dre for some good gold nuggets on dating and women and relationships. Be sure to be here. Take care. See you guys next